Hey guys, I gotta tell you, I am on a total post lost memory card high right now. I lost my memory card. I spent like an hour searching for it, retracing my steps, looking all over. I find it in a freaking drawer. I'm now going to be keeping my memory card in something like a zillion times its actual size, so this way I really won't lose it when it's not in use. But the things I want to talk about in this video are from ColourPop. They, not too long ago, put out their fall kind of 90s inspired collection, which is a bunch of new Super Shock eyeshadows, Lippy sticks, lip pencils, and then most recently they have released a couple of new boxed sets, one of the Super Shock shadows and one of Lippy sticks. So I've got all this new stuff, and I was talking about this on Snapchat recently, how, you know, brands can kind of flood you with new products and it's easy to try them all and be like, wow, this is great stuff, everybody needs it. But when you're really looking at this from the perspective of the buyer, it's like, okay, is all of this necessary? Or when you really take a good hard critical look at it, you know, what is really the stuff worth having? What's the special stuff? And for me, there's a relatively small amount of what I'm going to talk about today that I think is like the special stuff, that knowing what I know now, I would want to go out and buy this stuff. So like I said, there's this 90s inspired fall collection. All of these things are sold individually. There are a couple of Super Shock cheek colors. They're both matte. One is called Cruel Intentions and one is called Never Been Kissed. So gotta love those old movies, but one is more corally. Never Been Kissed is like a really nice pinky coral. And then Cruel Intentions is a nice berry shade. As I said, matte, no glow happening from either of these, but really nice saturated colors. Let's see, I'm wearing Cruel Intentions right now, very softly on my cheeks. But as I started using these, they really reminded me of the two blushes that come in the In Bloom collection, which I believe that came out in the spring, was it? It was Jamie Greenberg's set. It had the 3 Lippy sticks, the 2 blushes, and the highlight. And I mean, I feel like these are so close to those blush shades. When you're swatching them all out side by side, these two might be just a hair deeper than those other ones, but it's such a close call, like I wouldn't say I need them all. They're pretty, don't get me wrong, but they're so close to that set. So if you've already got that set, I wouldn't say these are must-haves. They've put out 10 Super Shock shadows as well. I just want to start off and tell you the 2 out of the 10 that I think are my absolute favorite and why. One of them is, I believe, the lightest one available, and it's called Supermodel. And I think this is just, I mean, it's the kind of shade you'll glance at and be like, don't I have things like that? Or don't I already have something from ColourPop like that? And I feel like I've got quite a few of their little foursome collections and other sets, but looking through what I have, I actually don't have anything just like this. This is the perfect champagne color, and there is no glitter in it. So it's glowy without being glittery. There's just the right amount of gold in this for me. It looks honestly so pretty worn alone. Just dab your finger into it for the quickest look ever, dab it on top of your lids, apply mascara, and be done with it. And it's so pretty. It looks so fresh, so light. Today I've got it under my brows, around the inner corner, and actually as my highlight on my cheeks. So this is a total multitasker type shade. As I was saying, the fact that it's not glittery really makes it something that I want to use all over. So I love Supermodel, and I really love this shade and the other shade that I'm going to mention in conjunction with some of the colors in the box set. The other color that I think is totally worth having out of these 10 is the one called Central Perk, and as I glanced at this, I thought, oh, okay, it's brown. It's nice dark brown. Heck no, it's not dark brown. It's like a freaking deep, bloody red type shade. Not bloody, I don't know, what am I saying here? It's a really pretty dark berry burgundy shade is what you're getting. I don't know why I halfway swatched that on top of the gold, but they are gorgeous together. That was one point I wanted to make. These two are awesome. If you want to kind of put one on top of your lid, start overlapping with Central Perk. It's so pretty, it's matte. I like applying some of these deeper matte ColourPop shades either with my Sonia Kashuk small shadow brush or a sponge tip applicator. They really dab on nicely with something like this, and then you can use a separate brush to blend it out more, but sometimes you'll find like this is enough. So today I've got Central Perk in the outer corner, blended up into the crease just a bit. I find it surprisingly easy to work with, and I just think these two, Supermodel, Central Perk, are the absolute best out of these 10 new 90s shades. There is another shade in the bunch that I think is beautiful. I think it swatches like, hey, look at me, me, I'm outstanding, like look how beautiful I am. And it's called Stereo, and you can see why I like this. You know, it's kind of purpley. At a glance in the product, it looks almost like a rusty kind of shade, but then it catches the light and you get those kind of pinky purple glimmers out of it. Again, it's the kind of shade that's gonna look completely fabulous in a swatch, but when you get into shades that are that dark, like on the eyes, they don't always translate quite as well. And that's not because it's not pigmented, but it's just because it's dark. Once you start working with the various contours of your eye area, things don't always turn out to look the way they do in your swatch. This shade does look pretty, kind of halfway layering that light Supermodel color I was talking about. It's a great color. I'm a little on the verge with this one. I don't know that it's total must-have territory, but it is really pretty. Just walk you through briefly some of the shades that I tried. I liked them well enough, but I don't love them. One of them is called I Spy. This is a matte. This is one that I would tend to wear as like a transition color or kind of blend it just up above my crease, and it looks very, very yellowy. I think for me, I want something that's maybe even a little more toward orange or a little more brownish in that area. It's a nice shade for what it is, but I just don't think it's something I'm going to use a lot. Another color that they have, and this says Super Shock Pressed Pigment, and this is in the shade Girl Power, so it's a really crazy bold orange shade. It's more like an orangey shade that I would really associate with summertime. I don't want to be that person who's like, you can only wear certain shades in certain seasons, but there is a color in one of the sets that is like pumpkin spice in an eyeshadow, and I just kind of like that a little bit better this time of year. This is very, very bold. It might be that exact shade that someone out there is looking for, but for me, I'm just not seeing that as essential. There are a few kind of mid-tone shades in this range where I think they're pretty colors, but they're shades I feel like I've got over and over again within my powder eyeshadow collection, you know? And when I talk about powder shadows along with ColourPop, you can really mix them in completely. You know, you don't need to feel like, oh, if I'm using ColourPop shadows, that's the only thing I can create my look with. I think they are great mixed in with like any other eyeshadows you own. The ColourPop shade might be a pop on the lid. It might be one of these matte colors that could almost double as a smoky liner. I think once you settle on the application method that works best for your ColourPop shadows, you're gonna find that it mixes right in with the other things that you own. But that being said, if I've already got a lot of a certain kind of shadow, I'm not gonna feel like, oh, I need to buy that now in ColourPop form, you know? So one that's like that is the shade called Boy Band. It's kind of a rusty, bronzy, kind of like an old penny type shade. It's really beautiful. It has a really nice glow to it. I've worn this on the eyes before. I like the look, but it's something I feel like I've got dozens of times over in my collection. Another shade that's that kind of deal for me is the one called Mixtape. This is a Super Shock shadow in the pearlized finish, and again, pretty. It's a very cool gray color, has the slightest bit of sheen. It's gonna be pretty if you like those cool tone looks, but it's just not one of those super unique colors. You've also got this shade called Party Time, which is a matte. It's like a very deep, dusty plum. Not a crazy exciting shade. I don't see quite enough plum coming out of this on my eyes to make it really, really special to me, but it is, you know, part of this collection. And then you've got the several really deep and dark shades in this collection. Central Perk, as I mentioned, the must-have, but then you've got a color called Plaid, and I thought, oh, I might love this. It's a really, really dark green. Problem is, I think it's too dark to get credit for being green. You know what I mean? Especially when you put it on your eyes, it's like, I just can't get enough green popping out of this shade. There's also a shade called Straight Trippin', and this is what I would classify as like a black plum. It's matte. When you swatch it out, you can kind of see a trace of purple in this shade, but again, on the eyes, it's so, so dark. It may as well just be a soft black because I can't get enough plum out of it. So just the heads up on those single shadows and what I'm thinking of them. Again, I think Central Perk is amazing, especially if you love burgundies, and Supermodel, just for an all-purpose, like, it's a great eye highlighting shade. It's also a great highlight elsewhere on the face. Now, still in the 90 90s collection here. They've put out 6 new Lippy sticks and also 6 coordinating lip pencils. What I want to say first is that I think if you're going for the Lippy sticks first and foremost, and you're thinking, if I get these, do I need to go ahead and get the coordinating lip liners? In my opinion, I don't think the lip liners are super essential if that's the way you're looking at it, because I think the Lippy sticks themselves are a fairly precise format for a lip product. I think it's really easy to get a precise edge, and even if you find, like with wear, maybe the shape of your Lippy stick is wearing down somewhat and is harder to get a precise edge with, you can take a lip brush, pick up some of that product, and still get a really defined edge. So unless you're just strictly looking for lip pencils in certain shades, or maybe you're thinking you're gonna mix and match like a different color to a certain Lippy sticks, you know, it's up to you. But I'm just saying, if you know you're going for these and your one thought is, do I need more precision? Do I need to get a lip pencil for that? I don't think you really must. But all of these new Lippy sticks are in a matte finish. They wear a really long time. I don't think they're hard to put on, like they don't really skip across my lips, but they also at the same time don't have the same glide as like the cream formula or their hyper glossy formula. But I never feel like these are drying my lips out. You're gonna find, like if you compare the matte Lippy sticks to their ultra matte liquid lipsticks, those go down to a very much transfer resistant finish on the lips. They're gonna feel pretty dry, let's face it. These give you the matte finish without feeling as dry. Granted, they can transfer off onto a coffee cup. You're still gonna have a lot of color remaining on your lips. So you've got Oh Snap. It's kind of a cool, light pinky beige. Definitely the most nude, I guess, of this collection. I could see some people really liking this shade for a natural look. I like it. I just don't find it to be very unique. Contempo is one that I think is absolutely beautiful. It's a soft berry. It's one of those things where I really like it for what it is, you know, from ColourPop, but if I really glance over my collection, I've got a lot of this kind of color. So again, I don't think for me that's really a total must. Now, if you're getting into the brown lip color trend, you might be interested in Grunge, kind of a deep brown. It's got a hint of brick red going on in there, but overall, it's pretty darn brown. And as this color starts to fade from, you know, the fresh application on your lips, you're gonna see more and more just straight up brown coming out of that color. So if you like brown, that's for you. Now getting into the 2 shades that are my must-haves here. The 2 colors from any new lip color, even including the set that I'm going to talk about. These are the 2 Lippy sticks that I think are the most beautiful. One is Dazed, and that's the shade I'm wearing today. Think of this as a berry red. I think it's a gorgeous fall red. You know, it's not purpley berry, which I do like my fair share of those kinds of colors as well, but it's very close to traditional red, just with a little more pink tossed into it. So I love that. And then I also love Poison. With this, we're talking a little bit deeper, more of a brick red. There's a little more warmth to this shade. I think it's also just absolutely beautiful. I love them both. They're the kind of shades that I picture, okay, I'm gonna wear a chunky sweater, I'm gonna do just a little maybe wing liner and mascara, I'm gonna toss my hair up into a bun, and these are the kinds of colors I'm gonna want on my lips. Matte finishes are really, I think, the best way to wear your reds, because you're not gonna have to be so worried about touching them up all the time, or, you know, is that really glossy red getting all over my teeth and outside my lip line? These wear a really long time, and I find them to be pretty comfortable as well for a matte. Now, if you really want to go there with the darkness, then you're going to want to look into the shade called Nevermind. I kind of dig this shade on my lips. It's a very deep, grapey purple color. I like it. How often will I pull out this kind of shade to wear? I'm not sure. So it doesn't quite get into the category of those reds that I mentioned where I think I'm going to wear those shades over and over and over. But you know if Nevermind is the kind of shade for you. So I just wanted to show that to you on my lips and give you a sense of how that comes off. So again, never trying to make your decisions for you. I'm just trying to give you the information. But in my opinion, to me, the 4 things out of the 90s collection that are absolute must-haves would be the Supermodel shade, the one called Central Perk, Perk, and then the Poison and Dazed Lippy sticks. Now, I was kind of evaluating that whole collection, taking into consideration these two new sets as well. One is called Forever Freshman, and this is going to be your set of the 6 different shadows, and then your set of 6 Lippy sticks in the Back to Cool kit. When I first glanced at both of these kits, I thought, I'm sure I'm going to love the Lippy sticks set, and this kit, I'm not so sure it's really catching my eye that much. But actually, it ended up being the complete reverse. This is the one that I think is really, really great to have. And the Lippy sticks, while I'm a huge Lippy sticks fan, and these are pretty shades, there was nothing in this kit that I loved as well as those 2 reds. So I'm going to go a little bit more in depth for you here. I can't really remember how the colors were initially put in here. They're all individuals, they just pop out like that. But I kind of realigned them in a way that makes sense to me for if you were going to do a cool look or a warm look. For example, for a cool look, you've got this taupey shade, a cool deep brown, a deep navy, and then for a warmer look, you've got this goldeny color, this shade that I feel like is pumpkin spice in an eyeshadow, and then a shimmery olive. Then I love those 2 favorites that I pulled out of the 90s collection. This makes a great highlight because this lightest shade in here, this gold, does have a decent amount of sparkle. Not saying I don't like that, because I do think it's a fun accent on the lid. I've got it on my lid right now, but this is the most, like, I think, classic highlight friendly shade to me. So I love popping this in with this set with any combination of shadows. And then I love Central Perk in here as well, because I love having that burgundy, you know, plummy, deep berry color to mix in with everything that's happening. This shade looks great if you start pairing it with the cooler tones, like alongside this taupey color. It also, probably my favorite way to wear it, is pulled in with the warmer set that I've put over here. So the gold, my pumpkin spice color, that's how I'm wearing it today. I have this shade, this is called Crimper. I've got that all over the lid. I've got pumpkin spice, which is actually called Melrose. I've nicknamed my shadows, folks. I've got that kind of up into the crease, and then I pulled in Central Perk to give me that kind of plumminess in the outer corner and also smudge down below. But just a closer look, one by one, Crimper, like I said, that's a Super Shock Shadow metallic finish, so it's very goldeny, but it also has some sparkle. This is the kind of shade, like, applied on the lid, I like to pat that on with my finger. I feel like that's the maximum impact, and it just looks really pretty that way. And you can really control it. I don't feel like I see any fallout coming off of these, because the consistency of these ColourPop shadows, I know I've talked about it in past videos, they're almost a little bit mousse-like, a little bit like a cream powder hybrid. They're very interesting. They're the kind of thing where your finger would squish down into them a little bit, but not goopy and creamy like maybe other cream shadows are. Next one, Melrose. This is the pumpkin spice color. It shears out so beautifully. I absolutely think this is an essential fall shade. Like I said, in the 90s collection, you've got a real vivid orange, and then you've got this shade, which is much more, like I said, pumpkin spice. I love that for in the crease. I use my Sigma E25 with that, and I have no issues blending it out. You know, just into the crease and up above works really great. And then 90210 is kind of this dark khaki green type color that they've really jazzed up with a shimmer that goes a little bit orangey, a little bit goldeny. It's a really pretty, interesting shade. It doesn't show up incredibly green on my eyes. There really is a lot of brown in this shade, but I do think the sparkle gives it a lot of brilliance. Now, if you look at these 6 in a lineup of swatches, this is the one that absolutely screams hello at you, and this is the one called Koosh, or Koosh. I always call them Koosh balls, but maybe some people call them Koosh balls. This is the ultra metallic finish, so it is really super shiny, but there is no sparkle in it, and it just, oh, it's like the shiniest taupe ever. They give you a really classic cool brown called As If, so I would say you've got these 2 matte kind of counterparts, the really warm reddish pumpkiny shade called Melrose, and then you've got As If. So it's really nice to be able to have that option of taking your look, I think, in 2 different directions for the crease. And then you've got Baby T, and this is a matte Super Shock shadow, and I do think there's like a hint of sheen to this. I might call this more of a satiny finish just for the way it performs on the eyes, the way you see it in swatch, but it's a really pretty deep blue. If I were making this grouping of shadows myself, I might have replaced that shade with Central Perk. That's more my initial reaction, but I have to admit, as I was playing with this shade the other day, it really pulled me in. It reeled me in, and I'm like, okay, I can really enjoy that blue. I just think this is a great kit for fall. It's a really nice lineup, and I think throwing in these two other shades, again, a more versatile highlight and that plummy burgundy, that really makes a great selection of shades for me. And if you've never tried ColourPop, you know, it's something to experiment with. It's going to be a different format of shadow than most anything else you have. They're one of the few kinds of shadows that I can wear without any kind of primer underneath, and my look will be completely maintained all day long. Can rub over them, and they really hang in there. If you're wearing one that's really glittery and you start doing that, you will notice the glitter kind of lift away. But as far as straight up colors, they really do last a super long time on me. The other kit that's available is the Back to Cool Lippy Stix set. Not a bad set, like really pretty colors. They give you 3 that are kind of really neutral. I think they're beautiful. And then 3 shades that are really rather bright. And they don't necessarily strike me as super fall-like shades. I don't know what they remind me of, you know, I guess just random bright colors. And like I said, after trying all those on, while I think there are some pretty shades, there's nothing in there that I liked as much as Dazed and Poison, which were available individually. But let's take you through all of them and let you see. There are some different finishes within this kit as well. For example, Choker, the lightest shade, that is a cream formula. The creams are my favorite, I think, formula that they put out in the Lippy Stix. They actually, I think, smell the best. They remind me of like a shortbread cookie, just really sweet, really yummy. This is a pretty nude. It comes across with just a hint of shine. It's a like, just not a love for me. Mosh Pit, super pretty. The definition, I think, of like dusty rose, but with some added warmth to it. It's a pretty shade. It's probably one of my favorites out of this kit. I also really like Baewatch, which is B-A-E watch. Don't tell Tyler, he hates the use of the word bay. Did I say this was matte? Because it is matte. It's a pretty berry. It's a little bit deeper, more rich compared to Contempo, which I mentioned is the individual color that was available from the 90s collection. Then you've got Out of Sync, and this is a matte color, and it's just an extremely bright pink. You know, it doesn't really strike me as a fall pink. It makes me think of more like a bright summery shade. It is gorgeous, I gotta admit. It's a bright berry. Too Sexy is a satin finish, and this is kind of taking me back to Radiant Orchid, when Radiant Orchid was the color of the year, because you can really see an interesting little sheen out of this shade. Much more purpley compared to Out of Sync, a little bit deeper as well. And then you've got TGIF, which is one of those nice brick red type shades. It's not quite as deep as Poison, and that was kind of why I liked Poison so much, was because it was that brick red but dark. So what can I say? It's a pretty set of colors. Yes, I like them. 4 out of the 6 are matte. You may be like, yes, I want each and every one of those shades. That's for me. But just, you know, me looking at this and taking into consideration other collections I have, I think on the whole, I really liked the variety in the, I think it was called the Sundays in Silver Lake set of Lippy Stix that came out earlier. I really felt strongly about that. I've got a blog post showing all of those. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it was useful. Again, all of this stuff was sent to me by ColourPop. I feel so grateful to have had the opportunity to try everything out. But knowing what I know now, if I could do my own haul, I would get the Forever Freshman kit, those 2 Super Shock shadows, and the 2 Lippy Stix. That would be my haul. But thanks again, guys, and I will see you later. Bye.